Hello, my name is Eduardo. Today I am here with another tutorial. Well, this is like part 2 for this Pong game that we were making in App Inventor. And well, first of all, just let me tell you something. This tutorial we're not going to going like step by step, because yesterday I had problems. Okay, I was trying to make this, but I was trying to make this without planning. Okay, so I was recording this, but I had some problems. Okay, so and then I was experimenting and trying and more or less I have just something that I really like it, and I'm going to explain you how to do that. Okay, if you remember in the previous tutorial, okay, we almost finished something like this. So we have this and everything was like stop in this part. This is another version. Okay, so this was the first one that I tried. So and I can move well. Then we just have this. I have added some things to this app. So let me move this thing here. Basically the idea what we have now, we have this message that is the touch to start. So when we press, well, obviously all the sprites are invisible right now, and even the ball. Then when I touch, I have here's the game. It looks quite the same, but I changed some things. If you check at the bottom, we have this kind of circle, and then we have this that it's another level. I created a level, so I add some things. Okay, and in this level check, some random sprites appear and interrupt your game. Well, anyway, so you have that, and the ball reduces. So, and that is the thing that I did. Okay, so I will show you more or less how to do that thing, how to add a level, well, how to improve this. Okay, so let's just dive in here. So if you check, we have the dragging circle. Why? Because this dragging circle is just to avoid the finger to interrupt your vision. Okay, because when you start in the other idea, you imagine that this pointer is my finger, so my finger will be like interrupting my vision. So, and in this case with this, I drag this kind of button and it will drag automatically the paddle. So that it's the little improvement. And then when you get to I don't know, to 3, okay, you pass to level 2, and in level 2, as I told you, we add these enemies. Okay, it is not finished, it has some mistakes, and maybe you can place these images better, and then it reset and it goes to the other level. I get to level 1. Well, so let's analyze a little bit about this. The first thing, how to add this touch to start. I did this in the video that is the Spanish version. Okay, so and then I just tried to make it here in this one, in the English version. So basically the idea is this: we're going to go to the designer and we're going to make the paddles disable. We are going to uncheck enable and uncheck visible. So these are disabled and invisible. Also the neutral, the paddle, and the ball. All of them are going to be disabled. Okay, then I just created a new sprite and I call it start SP. That is basically for the messages. And I set the size to automatic, well in this case, then just use it is visible and it's enabled because it's the first thing that we want to see. I just place them 85, 189. Okay. By the way, this text, it was made in Inkscape, and I just exported as graphics. Okay. If you check, I have it here. So basically that is the idea. So well, you disable these things and you enable these things, and that's it. Very simple. Now you have to modify in the game, in the start game. When you start the game, you are going to make the opposite. You are going to disable this and make it invisible, and then you are going to enable all the game elements, the ball and the paddles, basically. Okay, so well, you can do that one by one, or you can create a component. The component that I created, it is you create first a list. I create a list called sprites component list. Is an empty list. Okay, so and then you are going to add the the sprites. Okay, also I add here the paddles and the control. The control, as I told you, it is just another sprite. Control, that it's the, we can make it, we can see it here. So let's see this thing. This is just another sprite. Okay, and when we drag this sprite, we're going to move the other one. But first, okay, so this is going to appear and disappear with the game elements. So that's why I use it over there. Right now it's not visible because it's not placed. I mean, in the loading thing. But here, check. I add items to the list. So this empty list, that it was the sprites component list, I add the 4 sprites that I want to modify at the same time, because all of them are going to appear and disappear at the same time when we have like game over or start game. So first you create that and you add this procedure initialize. Then I created another simple procedure that is initialize sprites. Okay, and it's going to use for each. Check my tutorials about for each. Okay, because you first create the component with the sprites, so you have to drag from any sprite, you go to the bottom and then you just drag its name. Okay, and you do for that. Well, yes. Now in here we use for each sprite. Okay, for each sprite of these ones in my list, the global sprites component list, I want to make them disable and invisible. Okay, I did this in the designer, but this is just necessary to do it in order to see the process. Okay, so that's why when I make it visible in the designer, it was like disappear because it was in this list. And well, also for each, remember we use this, we can call it the way we want. I just call it sprites. So this is the current sprite of the key sprites. So this is like a loop. So set all these sprites invisible and disable. Well, now there is another thing. When we press this, we have the control. If you check, control moves with the paddle, or the control moves the paddle. So now we needed to modify the previous thing that we did. Instead of having the paddle drag, I'm not going to use this one. I'm going to use the control. So this circle, I'm going to drag it. So to move my paddle, okay, the player's paddle, first I'm going to move the control when I drag. And I'm going to use this little subtraction thing, because from the current click I'm going to subtract the half of the circle just to make it, to check the position is in the center. Okay, because if not it will be like in the left. So well, basically that's the thing. Now the Y, which stays the same, and then for this one, okay, for the paddle, so when I move this, when I drag this, I want to move this also. So I'm going to use the same values, like the current x. Okay, that is the one when it's dragging the control, and I'm just going to do the same for here to center it, but based on the paddles width divided by 2, of course, because we want to be like in the center. Check. When I drag, it just plays automatically in the center both, and it's better, okay, when you play. I mean, your finger is not interrupting, the Y stays the same, and that's it. So for that's the part for this touch start and the control, how to move the control to control the paddle. Okay, now there is another thing, the most complicated part from yesterday that I was making this. It was the start, I mean the next level. Well, we need to modify and to add some new variables. The variable that I created, it's one that it's called current level. At the beginning, when you start, it's in level 1. Okay, so remember we have other variables like power gain and current level. This XPath, we are not using it anymore, sorry. Well, now, how to detect when we touch here that we are not in level 1 or level 2? Okay, because when we get to for example to 3, the score, or 4, I guess it was 3, you pass to the next level. And when you pass to the next level, it's like having another game over thing. Okay, so it is like stopping the game, and then it's displaying the message level 2. Okay, and then you start the game again touching. But how to avoid this thing that, hey, you know, this is not level 1? Well, we are going to use conditions. That's why I created the variable. So, and the condition, we add something to the condition. Check. When I touch, it has to check if the game is in false, okay, that we are not playing. Yes, that's true. And, no or, it is and. The global current level is equals to 1. If this is equals to 1, that means that we are going to start the normal game. Okay? And then we're going to set global power gain to true. I have to do this one to true. Okay? That means that thing. When we touch, we're going to start the game, and level 2 global power gain true. Okay? So that is the idea with this. Okay, it's going to detect if the game is enough, okay, so that we are not playing in that moment, and in which level are we, okay, based on this variable. Now, as I told you, this is just like stopping. So when I get to this number, any number here, for example, you can set it to 4 or 5. I created another variable. Okay, so well, let's check how to pass to the next level. First, the conditions. When we get to the edge, remember, so if we get to the edge number 1, we are going to have like this modification in the score. So I created a level called change level. Every time we collide with the edge number 1, that is this one, the upper one, we are going to do this global pass level. I created a variable called to pass level, and I set it at the beginning to 3. So that means, check, if this variable, the global pass level, it is more or bigger than 0, okay, you can set it to bigger than 1 or 0. Let's set it to 1. Okay, so if this variable is bigger than 1, so I want to increase my score normally. Okay, increase my score, and also instead of increase this variable that we have in here, that it's 3, we're going to subtract 1, okay, from the current value. So every time we click in, for example, we start with 3, but we cannot see the 3, not the player. Okay, so well, you have 1, 3, minus 1, 2, 1, and if we pass, okay, that means that if the global pass, it is equal to 1, okay, so in that case it is not more like bigger than 1, we're going to activate first the level 2A procedure. okay, and we are going to set this now to 10 to increase now the difficulty if we are planning to add more levels or something, okay, but well, not now, okay, so just for this second level is just like that. So we're going to activate this procedure, okay, so if we get to a value that is in this past level, we get to 1, okay. So now level 2a, it is a procedure that I duplicate this procedure. I duplicate this procedure from let me show you. 2a, it's from game over. I duplicate this procedure from game over. I duplicate this and I modify some things, okay, so let's check it. Level 2a, so this is the first step to pass to the next level. Stop everything and set new conditions. Basically that is the idea. So what happens? Let me check if I can do it. I don't know if it's like going to work. Let's set it, let's do it, and then change. So what is the first thing that you can see when we change? We stop everything in the game, remind that we were playing, and we display this message. So first we created another, okay, another components, another component or another list of sprites. But for that I went to the designer and I created my enemies. I created 1, 2, 3 enemies, and I set one picture to these enemies that it's this kind of gear. I'm sure I have them. This one. That's it. I just created this simple graphic and I just use them as enemies. I have enemy 1, enemy 2, and enemy 3, and I set them to the same image, and I make them invisible and disable because they are not going to appear when we just start the game, okay. So now, as I told you, I'm going to load these enemies just if you pass to level 2, okay, so that's why I'm not including them in initialize. So I am adding them when you activate this, when you get to the level 2, when you get the score that is necessary, or this part. So you're going to add items to this empty list. The empty list was global enemy component, and you add enemy 1, enemy 2, and enemy 3. Remember, to add this, to create this kind of components of sprites or whatever, you have to go to this thing and then go to the bottom and you see just the name of the sprite, for example, in this case. I add enemy 1, enemy 2, and enemy 3. I make my list to use it with for each, because all of them are going to use something similar. Then I just check the values in my level 2a. Remember, this is just cloned from the game over, okay, so I have to modify some things that I don't want to pass. For example, but the speed, yes, I reduce the speeds. I place everything now, okay, in the center, reduce the speeds, okay, position all the elements, even that we are not looking at them, all of them are now in placed, and then the for each, okay. So for each, remember the sprites, okay, these sprites, not the enemies. In this case, these are the paddles, okay, and all the paddles, I make them false. After place them, I make them false and invisible, all of them, okay. I use this thing. I can do it in here, but I just avoid to do that, okay. I just did that. I disable all of them. Then also I disable the ball and make it invisible. Then this is important, I set the start. Remember that at the beginning we have touch to start. Now I change the graphic to level 2, that is this one, and then I make the start speed visible and enabled. First change its image, and then I just make it visible, and that is this message. Then the global power, it is in false because I forgot, but well, we set it to false. And the current level, now I change this. Remember that at the beginning it was 1, now I change it to 2, and then I just refresh my label, okay, score label. That's it. So now this is the first part. So I use these variables because remember in the touch, when you touch the screen, it needs this. It needs to be false, and if the level is 2, it's going to run now second procedure. The second procedure that it will run is this one, level 2b. Level 2b, it is a duplicated thing from the start game. I just duplicate this one and I modify this one. So first thing that I did, so when you are ready to start level 2 and you touch, what is going to happen? We are going to change the background color, we are going to change the color of the ball and the radius of the ball. At the beginning it was set to 8, now we will make the ball smaller to 6. Now the enemies that we just created in a list, okay, we are going to first enable them, position them, and then make them visible. So I just going to place them in the canvas based on these values, and a value from a random integer from 30 to 210, and even maybe to 20. Let's set it to 20. Okay, so in that case we are going to have these random values. So all of the enemies, the 3 enemies, are going to be placed in random positions based using this for each. Okay, so that's the good thing about for each. Then, as in the normal start, I make all my sprites, okay, the good ones, the paddles, to true and to true. Also enable and visibles. Okay, and then also the ball, visible, enable. The message, I'm going to disappear the message when I touch the screen, and I'm going to move everything again. The paddles, I'm going to move the paddles, and I'm going to change the heading of the ball just to go to a random positioning here, and I'm going to change the global speed for the ball, and that's it. Okay, so in that case we are going to activate that. So we are going to go from level 2A to level 2B procedure, and if we run it, okay, that it's when we do this thing, okay, when we touch the screen. So let me do it in here, and then you have the level 2. And now we are missing something now. Well, now right now it is confused because it was not in 3 and whatever. Well, now we have these 3 enemies. So we want to make collision with the enemies. We want to detect if we have collision, and we want to disappear these enemies when we touch them. Okay? So basically that is what I want. Now to check the collision, this is the thing that I was like suffering yesterday. So, and I have to check my heli bomber tutorial because I was using collisions over there. Oh well, I got confused. So what I did is this. Remember that we have paddle contact procedures to check collisions, and we activate these collisions here when the ball collide with, and we use if other get with paddle 1, with paddle 2, with paddle 3, and we play different sounds. Well, for the paddle, for the enemies, we do something similar. I duplicate this procedure, the paddle contact, I use the 3, and then I just modify things. Obviously, because we have a group of sprites, I use for each first. For each enemy in the list, enemy 1, enemy 2, and enemy 3, if we use this block that is in any component, we use enemy sprite, and then you look for this purple block that it says call image sprite colliding with for component. We use it like this. We use it in if the sprite, the current sprite, okay, that we the current sprite that is interacting has collision, or if you touch this sprite or this enemy collides with ball 1. So if we have collision, that's why we use true. We are going to play a sound. We are going to change the direction of the ball as usual. Check, I just use this from the procedure in here, and I just substitute the X. For example, here use neutral paddle, and I use the blocks in the any component. So we use this one, and then you went for X. I use this one, and I just use get enemy, remember, from here to here, and I just substitute this one for image sprite width from the same any component, and then everything stays the same. Now, because this is in for each, I can disappear the current enemy that touches the ball. So that's why I use after this if. So we moved, remember, just check the previous tutorial to see this when we have collisions, okay, just to detect which side of the enemy is touching. So if we have collision, we disappear the enemy, the current enemy that is having collision. So no matter which side of you are touching, okay, so we disappear them, basically. That is the idea. And then this procedure that we created, as I call it enemy contact or enemy collision, you can call it. So, and I inserted this here under the if conditions, yes, the if for collisions. When the ball collides with the paddle, do this, follow this procedure. With the paddle, neutral paddle 1, neutral paddle 2, do this, but for enemy contact, I use just the procedure that it's everything in here. That is this one. So let's check it again. If you want to see it, I can make it smaller just for you to see the full blocks. That's it. Oh, it's so long. But remember, just duplicate the other one and add the for each, okay, for each. So you have for each, check if you have collision with the current enemy, and then you just change the values here for the ones in the list or the group or the component of the enemies. Basically you disappear them, okay, I added here, and that's the idea. Okay, so that's the way we add this thing. Now if we go here and we refresh the screen, let's see if we can. Let's refresh the screen. We go to the blocks. Let me make this thing bigger. Well, basically that is the way to add a new level. Okay, so we start here, we try to get to this number 3. Remember, there are two variables, one is the score, but the other one is like the current level. If you want to make it like, no, you pass until you get 10 points, well, you need to change the value in level into pass level variable, because it's sometimes quite hard even to get to 1. Or maybe I am terrible. Yeah, not very easy. 1. And we pass now to the next level. When we touch, as I told you, we have change of color, enemies placed in a random place, and the ball is reduced, and that's it. We have now game over. Okay, now it is detecting game over, and when we start, we have everything again. So, well, I guess that's basically the idea. Sorry for not having like step-by-step tutorial, guys, because yesterday, believe me, I was recording this and it got like really messy because I didn't plan. But the idea is to create or duplicate the start game and the game over things and modify them, because we have two things to happen. Okay, for example, the score, we don't want to reset the score like in game over. Okay, so, and also there is another thing that is important to consider. We created this variable, the current level. We modified the values in the edge reach. Okay, so edge reach, now we were counting, yes, we were counting, but we were based on this value that is global to pass. Okay, so to pass to level 2, you just have to get to this. Then when you pass to level 2, they change it to, now you know what, I want you to change to 10, because now in 10 it will like stop again, I guess, if you have it. Okay, so well, that is to add more levels. Maybe what if I want to add another level? Well, I need to think about what it's going to happen and when it's going to happen. Okay, so basically that is the idea. Okay, so you need to add more variables or conditions or modify these conditions. Okay, so basically, for example, you have global pass to level 10, and then you need to set the level, for example, to 3. Okay, so maybe to 3 if I get to the, if I pass level 2. Okay, I change to 3 now, level 3. Well, basically that is the idea. Okay, so I just wanted to show you how to add a level. Okay, maybe you can add more enemies and place them here like a barrier. Okay, and then you have to destroy this barrier, and then you continue with this. Okay, so I don't know. So I hope you like this kind of tutorial. And it was not a tutorial, but it was just explaining you how to make or how to improve your game. Okay, so how to add a level. Okay, how to change conditions, how to use this for each. Please, guys, check my video about for each. It will be like really useful for you. Also check the video about Heli Bomber. It is very useful because we were using lots of enemies or buildings or sprites, and we were using for each a lot. Okay, so well, my name is Eduardo. I hope you enjoy this video. Thanks for watching, and guys, please help me liking this video. Okay, remember, I will share all the images and sounds using this file if we get to 10 likes. Okay, so I will see you next time. My name is Eduardo, and this was a tutorial for App Inventor. My channel is Azaotl, or no, on my page, on my Facebook page. Okay, so well, bye bye.